21 of the manual. Still dealing with the 5 ways of attack. We talked about attack by combination, attack by drawing. We didn't look at single direct attack. That's just a straight shot. Bam, he hits out of nowhere. Seemingly that's what it seems like. The single direct attack is usually the most difficult to defend against. However, that doesn't mean it's impossible, and doesn't mean it's even that hard, right? Like I said before, you can get yourself to a place where the enemy cannot touch you. Then even the single direct attack. And you say, okay, now where is that place? Well, first off, the Bible says that if you have the shield of faith up, you can quench every fiery dart of the wicked. Right? Every. Not some, every. So it proves that you don't have to get hit. Now, we talked about the progressive indirect attack. And as we were talking about finances earlier, we brought up just a minute ago the fact that, sometimes that direct, indirect, the way we discussed it was that you make a decision to support missionaries or something, and the enemy will try to hit your car, somehow he tries to redirect the finances, right? And he tries to hit through redirecting those finances, and usually it has nothing to do, with the thing you're trying to direct it toward. In other words, it might have nothing to do with missionaries, might have nothing to do with orphanages, in the sense that where the hit actually takes place. It could be in the areas of, okay, you're going to give so much money to missionaries, and something happens to your car that takes that much money. Okay, has nothing to do with missionaries dealing with your car, but the point was the missionaries were the target, and he hit your car to get the money from the missionaries. Now, I'll tell you another way that's just as easy for him to operate many times, and we fall for it, more often than not, and that's in the areas of rumors. It happened with Dr. Lake. Early on, there were rumors that some of the testimonies they were giving weren't accurate, and different things are going on. And immediately, all the money stopped going in, because Christians, when they hear a rumor, they stop giving. Immediately, whether the rumor is true or not. And with Dr. Lake, it was not true, and they proved it not true. But nevertheless, that same year, he buried 14 men and women who were missionaries just because somebody started a rumor and the money quit coming. So, I'm a firm believer. If you're going to support missionaries, go visit them. You show up, unannounced if possible. Just show up, visit them, check out what they're doing, right? Don't believe all the press reports. I'm not saying that they're lying to him, just saying don't go by those all the time. Check it out yourself. And once you check it out, or if you hear a rumor, show up, right? Don't just stop your money. You say, well, what if I keep giving and the rumor is true? God will honor that, and he'll honor the fact that you have mercy and that you believe all things, believe the good, right, until you find out proof. So check it out. Show up, verify the rumor before you quit giving. Simple as that. Next, the immobilization attack, number 5. There's head immobilization attack, as point A, which can be witchcraft. If you're going into an area where there is a lot of witchcraft or a lot of even New Age stuff, but specifically, even New Age is one thing, but witchcraft is a direct aggressiveness. Okay, New Age is almost like Baha'i. It's kind of like, okay, your way is your way, my way is my way. We're doing this stuff. It's okay. I'm not so much against you. Whatever you want to do, that's fine with me. Witchcraft has some of the they have the same terminology a lot of times, in the sense of, well, that's your way, this is my way, and that's that. But deep down, they will direct things against you. And then there are even levels of witchcraft. It's all witchcraft. It's all evil. It's all bad. It's not right. Okay? But there are different types of witchcraft, just like there are different types of Christianity. And I'm not saying yay or nay. Maybe you want to draw the line somewhere. I'm just saying people that call themselves Christian. You've got some that are very staunch religionist, that the level of their Christianity is nothing but religion. And then you've got people that are on fire for God and doing things and power manifest and the whole bit. So you got the whole spectrum. It's the same thing with witchcraft, in the sense that you have this range, this spectrum to work with. And many times when you go into an area, if they know you're coming, then many times they will target you. And you can tell that sometimes by talking to people. And a lot of times if there's witchcraft have targeted you in your meetings, then there'll be confusion, there'll be chaos, there'll be all kinds of trouble, just little harassments, little things just to cause problems. Sometimes it can be even in a sense of headaches. People there getting headaches. A lot of the people getting headaches. Sometimes it has to do with people just falling asleep, no reason, not necessarily that you're boring. Now, sometimes it could be you're just boring. Okay, that'll do it too. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about for no reason, okay? Got lots of sleep the night before, rested, everything's good, get in the meeting, all of a sudden start falling asleep. Sometimes that is a witchcraft attack, right? Not always, but when you see a lot of people, it happened to a lot of people many times. Now, you can't count the first session after lunch, okay? You can't count that, all right? Okay? Just a fact, you got to allow for some natural things there too. So, okay. Next, sometimes just kind of a panic attack. Things just all of a sudden, bam, hit you. A lot of times that's not a thing directed towards you per se, but it's toward where you're going, to the meetings you're going to. In that sense, it would also go back to possibly a progressive indirect attack because it's not so much against you as it is against where you're going. See, that would make it the indirect attack, right? Now, next, actually, let's go back to that witchcraft attack for just a minute, because when we were in Colorado, matter of fact, I don't remember now. I'd have to remember who they were. Look in here. No, they're not a witch. Don't be looking for witches. All right, that's not what I'm doing. But there was a person said they were going to Colorado, and the situation going on there, and I wanted to talk on this for just a minute. We were in Colorado a couple of years ago, and we're in La Junta, Colorado. Did a DHT there. And while we were there, there's a person that we know of that's been with us for some time, solid, strong, good. I know them. They're the real deal. And he came along. He's actually in the military, and we've talked quite a bit about some of the situations, the border thing, and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of good information there. Well, because we have people inside organizations a lot of times that will talk to us about things, and that's why a lot of the stuff I say comes from knowing certain things from other people that come in. Well, he had made a statement that he was working with one of the healing rooms that are associated with us there in Colorado, and this, it was a witch. It was a warlock, actually. It was a male witch, had come in and had gotten saved, and then came to them and said, listen, you need to know about this. And what he was telling was, he said, the people that I used to be with, he said, I still know what they're doing. I still have some insight, to what they're doing. And he said, I want you to know that they have put out basically a bulletin. I mean, believe it or not, honestly, everybody's more organized than most Christians. Okay? Almost every group is, right? And they are organized. Witches are organized a lot more than most people think. Now, they're underground a lot, but they are organized. And they put out a bulletin basically that said that two of the ministries that at that point in time that were causing them the most trouble here in the United States was Freedom Ministries with David Hogan and JGLM. Right? And the reason they said, this is what he said, the reason they were saying that was because we are exposing how things work in the spiritual realm and how they work. Now, we said that. A lot of things took place after that. We basically there was word that they were trying to infiltrate us, and I know this may sound crazy to some of you, but believe it or not, we get a lot of people volunteer to come and work for us, and honestly, we turned some down just because the Bible says to know those who labor among you. And we've had people walk in the door of our offices and say, I'm here to help, and and I'm good at this, and I want to, or maybe I can't do a whole lot, but I can put in information in a computer, and if you want something put in a computer, I'll be glad to sit in your office and put it in your computer. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to turn my computer over to a stranger. Ain't going to happen. All right, you put it on a Word document and then give me the disk, right? And then I'll check it out, make sure it's not a virus that you can tap into my computer, and then we'll go from there. All right. So, there's what I have control over, I will have control over. Simple as that. And so, they told us that we had been targeted for infiltration, and that they were targeting us, basically praying against us and things, and we had to go to some warfare on it. But things like that happen, right? It is a reality. When I was in Denver a couple of years ago, and some of you may have heard this, but I was teaching. We had a break. And I was up on the platform, which is about that tall, and so maybe a little bit taller. And I went in, and this guy came in, and he was standing on the floor, and I was on the platform, and he was as tall as I was. Okay, which again you say is some big deal. Well, he might not have been that tall still. Okay, but he had on the black duster, all black clothes, black hat, had fairly long hair, fairly good sized guy. he was a good 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", somewhere right through there. And he came in and started talking to me. Well, had some guys there that were kind of watching what was going on, and we'd had some incidents in the meetings. I was teaching during the day and having healing services at night, and we'd had some situations with witches in the meeting, and if you get a chance, we'll talk about those, but probably won't. But anyway, we don't have all the time in the world today. We're finishing up. But he came to me and said, I hadn't known that much about you, and he said, but I wanted to come hear, what you had to say. And he had sat through the meetings, a couple of sessions, and he said, and you could tell he wasn't average, okay? And he said, I'm a, I was trying to remember how he said that. He didn't make it sound like he was a practicing warlock at that point, but made it sound like, okay, this is who I'm with and who I've been around and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like he was saying who I am or not. He was just there. And he said, he said, the things you've been saying, he said, I ain't never heard anybody talk about other than the people in the coven that I was a part of. And I said, okay. And he said, matter of fact, I know some people, if they knew you were teaching this stuff, they would kill you. And I said, well, they would try. I said, because I ain't going nowhere yet. Okay? And he kind of laughed and said, yeah, okay, I get it. He goes, and he started saying all stuff. He started going off on, he goes, he looks at me kind of weird and goes, you're a God man. And I'm like, wait a minute, okay, specify what you mean by that, okay? Because you get some groups and they mean, you're a divine being, an enlightened master is like they say in the East, that kind of stuff. And I said, if you mean God is in me and I know God, yes. If you mean I am a God, no, that's not, not what we believe. And I said, but do I have the power of God in me and exercise? Yes, that is true. And he said, well, you're saying some things that I've only heard one or two other people ever say, and they weren't saying it from the same side you were saying it from. And I said, well, that's good. Then you know what I'm telling you is true. And he said, yeah, there's no doubt about it. So we had a talk for a little bit. And, it was kind of strange because you could, even though we were talking and being nice, it was like you could feel it. We were fencing. Okay, it was kind of like, tink, 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 you could feel it. And, seldom do you get in a position like that. When you do, it's kind of like, yeah, it's good. It feels kind of good, to be honest with you. Well, and then when we got done, he left, and then that night, we had this healing service, and the place was packed out. We had about, I guess, probably a good 600 people there at least. And a lot of them we didn't know, a lot of them weren't members of the church. Well, we had some people come in that at one point while the intercessors were in back, they were praying. They do before every service. They were intercessors for the church. And while I was there, I kept feeling kind of just, for lack of a better term, just antsy. It's kind of like, okay, just kind of like, just before a fight, And I don't always get that way before preaching. Usually I'm just pumped and ready to go, and, But this time I was kind of like, it really wasn't a nervousness. It was just kind of like, are you ready? That kind of thing. Or, get ready, be ready, let's go. And so with me, it's kind of like, okay, let's go. So we get out there and I start to minister, and then, or during the worship service, they came to me and they said, there's some witches here. I said, oh, okay, then that makes sense, some of the stuff that was going on. And he said, we know where a couple of them are. We don't think we know all of them. We know there's some over here, but we don't know who they are, but we know where the ones over here are. We got them pinpointed. And so in the middle, now I'll tell you, this is how this, well, it's, I don't know if y'all probably wouldn't know them because I forget where I'm at. But it was a church out there called Power Invasion. And it was an awesome church. It was a good church. And so they called their leadership together, even their youth, and said, all right, during the worship service, they took a break and said, all right, we need our youth leadership, and they had some kind of team thing. They called it some alpha team type of thing. We need the alpha team. We need this. You need to take your positions, and we need to go to, I think they said protocol A or something. It's amazing. I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, this is good. And I'm watching, and in the middle of this, these kids hear this. They're all through the crowd, and they kind of, okay, and they get up and they go to the side. I mean, they'd been called, right? And so they go to the side of the wall, and they end up lining up around the walls. All these kids, and when they do, I mean, they're right by the doors. They're all around the walls. And then at one point, the guy that was the head over that area of ministry just said, "All right, you can begin now." And all of these kids started praying in tongues. Bam! I mean, it was just instantly the service just went took off, And all of a sudden, you ought to see it. All of a sudden, you got this crowd here. Most people didn't know what was going on anyway, and they're kind of like looking around. But there was like 3 or 4 on this side and 2 on this side. Where everybody else was looking around, all of a sudden these 3 over here and 2 over here, was all of a sudden they go, and doing that. And they're like, boom, boom, boom. And right then these kids, when moved in, sat down right beside them. Hi, how are you doing? I mean, just went after them. I mean, it was awesome, you know. And I'm standing back there, I'm going, yeah, this is the way it's supposed to work right here, you know. And so they're going on all this stuff, and then finally they said, you know, would you come with me, and, you know, let's go talk. And they let them out of the service with no disruption, just real nice and real good. And they took them out, and they had a prayer room on the side, and they all met over there, and they got them in, and a couple of them ran out the door, not the kids, but the people they had gathered. A couple of them ran out the door, and the kids went right after them. I mean, they were right on their heels, man. And they said, well, okay, so they got them out, and then the pastor turned the service over to me and said, Brother Craig, go. And you could actually feel the service, the difference that took place. And then in the middle of it, I'm walking back and forth, and then all of a sudden, it was so funny because it was that exact same service, and I'm walking back and forth, and I'm just preaching, and I stopped, and I said, you know what? I said, matter of fact, and it just rose up inside, which doesn't always happen, but it rose up inside of me. And I said, you know what? Matter of fact, you're here right now, and you came in here, you think your God is stronger than our God. And I said, how dare you think that? I said, matter of fact, you were with God once, and you turned your back on him because he didn't do what you thought he should, and you got mad, and you went over to the other side. And I said, and right now, you think that you're so powerful and so strong. I said, you think you're bad? Step up. I mean, I was getting riled up, right? And I said, come on, you think you're tough? You think you got something? Step up here. Let's do it. Let's go toe to toe. Let's see whose God's the best. You know, and people are kind of like, who's he talking about? You know, and I'm there. I mean, I'm you know, it's almost like back when I was teaching martial arts. I had that same feel, kind of like, here we go. You know, it's on. And I'm standing. I'm like, come on. You know, you want to do it? Come on, let's do this. I said, let's give the people a show. You think you're bad? Let's do something. And I said, I don't know where you are right now. I said, you give me a minute, I'll find you. I said, God will show me where you're at. And I said, I'm just going to wait here and see. And I said, matter of fact, I said, I'll tell you what, we're going to do a demonstration. I said, come on, if you're sick, get up here right now. Anybody that's sick, get up here. We're going to heal the sick right now. And so we got people lined up, and I'm going down the line, I'm praying, bam, hitting, and that's a good time. This sounds funny, but I'm telling you, get mad. If you will get mad and then pray for the sick, you'll see faster results. It's just a fact. And I'm not even saying necessarily get mad at the sickness. All right? Believe it or not, my wife and I have argued from time to time. Okay? Yeah, I know it's a shock. Okay? Because, I mean, obviously I'm easy to get along with, right? So but, and I'm telling you, some of the best services I've ever had was right after we had an argument on the way to church. I mean, I preached harder and stronger and had better results in praying for the sick, and it's amazing, you know. Now, I don't advise that, okay? That's not the best way to get, especially with her, all right? So that's not the best way to get, because she has a memory, I'm telling you, she can remember everything, okay? So, but, you know, yeah, oh man, they do. But bottom line is that just get mad, get fed up, which is one of the keys. If you go through the DHT, that's one of the main keys. Get fed up. Just get fed up with it and go after it. And so I was fed up with that situation, didn't know where they were, so we just started healing the sick, and I'm going down the line, and by the time I stepped in front of this woman and said, what can I do for you? And looked at her and said, you're the one. She goes, I'm the one. And I'm like, okay. And right then, and I said, now, you tell me what to do. And that woman broke and repented right then. And she said, you know, I hadn't found anybody else that would confront me. She said, I've been going to churches and sitting there to see if they could even sense I was there. And she said, no, nobody would confront me. And that night she confessed, repented, and got healed. You know, the thing she had gotten mad over was the fact that God didn't heal her the way she thought and when she thought he should. And it had nothing, all it was is just wrong teaching that she had received that built up some strongholds and didn't allow her to get healing. And because of that, and then we broke through that thing, and bam, she got healed. Totally repented, and I told the pastor, I said, here, that's the one. Get her, okay? Take her over there and talk to her and make sure this is, this lasts. But I'm telling you, those same kids, right after that DHT, they go out on the street. They go out there, they had a master's commission, and they went out as a group and started praying for the sick. And one guy was, he was messed up, pretty messed up. Had a huge tumor. I mean, they could put their hand around it on the back of his neck. He had to do like this because the thing kept him where he couldn't raise up. He was like that, and they come and said, can we pray for you? And he said, well, all right. And so they said, we're going to lay hands on you, and God will heal you. No, they didn't say God will heal you. They said, can we pray for you? We're going to lay hands on you. And he said, okay. They laid their hand on top of that tumor, commanded it to go, and the thing disappeared. Boom, instant, right there in front of all of them, right? And the man all of a sudden felt it go, and he got scared and backed up against the wall and said, are you witches? Are you warlocks? What is it? And they said, no, this is the power of God. Right? Now, Denver is a haven for witchcraft. But it's amazing, and this is the sad part, that when somebody senses power, they automatically believe it's a witch. Now see, that shows a low state of the church in that area. But I guarantee you that church is taking it back. And those kids have been out doing it and getting results. And everywhere we've gone, it's the same thing. You can get results and not be that aggressive. I'm talking about you have to be aggressive in the situation, but you don't have to be aggressive to take your city. You can still get results. But if you will get aggressive to take in your city, the results that you get in healing and deliverance will be amplified. Why? Because they were meant to be signs. And as long as we keep trying to make them rewards, you're not going to see that much for it. But when you start making them signs of God's supremacy, rather than rewards to a person for living right, you're going to see greater miracles, faster miracles, more deliverance, just more manifestation. That's just the way it goes. It says, as you go, preach and heal, right? He didn't say as you stay, as you sit, as you gather up. So the idea is you have to become aggressive to take in your city, and when you do that, signs will be. Now the Bible says signs are for unbelievers. Isn't that right? Well, then how come we always, for some reason we think, well, how come you see so many signs overseas and not in the church? They were never meant for the church. They're for unbelievers. Start doing outside what you do in here, and guess what? You'll have signs out there and you'll see just the same stuff that you see overseas. Why? Because overseas you don't gather up in buildings to try to do it. You have crusades and you call the unsaved. And yet, what do we want? We want signs among the saved. They're not for the saved. You understand? Now you say, well, you mean as saved we shouldn't be healed? Yes, you should be healed. But I'm saying not as a sign in the sense of a reward or something like that. Not as a sign to you as a believer. Signs work through the believers, not for the believers. Isn't that right? That's the way it's supposed to be. So, all right, let's move on here real quick. Number 2, fear of men. Now notice this is under head immobilization attack. Head immobilization attack. First, witchcraft, that kind of thing. Second, fear of men. Why? Mouth immobilization. What is that? That's whenever your fear of men will keep you from speaking out or speaking up or talking to people or witnessing or saying the truth whenever you are in a situation that is not necessarily a church situation. Right? That would be fear of men. And it's a mouth immobilization. In other words, he'll try to keep your mouth shut. Next, basically what that one says is afraid to speak truth. Hand immobilization. The hand immobilization attack is this. Various methods to stop you from reaching out. In other words, you're going through Walmart, see somebody sick, you want to go over and reach out. Hand immobilization. What if it don't work? Remember? Basic. Yeah, well, but see, this is the basic teaching of the DHT. Remember, we've gone through this. What is doubt? What is unbelief? That kind of thing. Yeah, it keeps you. What is it? Number 1 is fear. Everything goes back to fear to some degree. Fear of failure, fear of loss of reputation, fear of something, fear of retaliation. Like I said the other day, I think it was here I was talking about where a person didn't want to cast out devils because they were afraid that the devil would speak up and reveal the sin that they've been involved in. Well, guess what? Get out of the sin, you won't have to worry about it. Right? Real simple. So it's all these things. Fear of men, fear of failure, doubt. And then C, of course, is leg immobilization attack. What does that mean? It means it keeps you still. Right? Ties up your legs. You won't go out and preach, won't go out and witness. What does it do? You're entangled in the affairs of life, sickness and disease, used against non-JGLM personnel, usually, because JGLM personnel know that if you get sick, you don't let it stop you from going out, you go out and pray for more sick. Well, should I pray for people if I'm still sick? Yes. You pray for people until you get well, and then you pray for people because you're well. Right? Okay, let me ask you this. Is truth only truth whenever you're walking in it? If truth wasn't truth when you're not walking in it, you'd never need to walk in it because it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't be violating truth. Right? You might have to think through that, okay? But if truth is truth regardless of whether you're walking in it or not, then truth is truth. Shouldn't you preach truth no matter whether you're actually living it out or not? Whether you're actually experiencing it or not? Why should truth not be practiced just because you're not experiencing the fullness of it at that time? What makes you think you will ever experience the truth, the fullness of truth, until you're actually out doing it when you're not experiencing it? So you might have to get the tape and go through this, right? Okay. And I'll say something like that, and somebody will say, "Can you say that again?" I'm like, "I wish I could." Okay. And yes, I can if you'll get the tape. Okay. How's that? And then third there is condemnation, right? It keeps you from going forward and it keeps you from going out because of the past. You have condemnation. You have something that keeps you from moving forward. Now, honestly, if you are around people that put you down, tell you can't do it, I don't care if you have to be very, I don't care what position they're in, right? Now, there is wisdom, but don't let wisdom be an excuse for cowardice, okay? There are people who technically would not be ready, right? But honestly, after they've been in church a week or two, they're ready, right? I'm telling you, the most misused or unused talent pool in the church is new believers. They'll do anything. Isn't that right? They're on fire, and usually they have to be taught into unbelief, right? You have to teach them to calm down. And unfortunately, they've been taught that a lot. Well, you're not ready. Well, you need more teaching. Well, you're not ready yet. You need to... Okay, that may be true, and yeah, they're going to make mistakes, and yeah, they may be a little overzealous and, say some things that are wrong. But bottom line is, I'd rather have somebody tell me something wrong and get me healed than wait until they hear the right thing and let me sit there another 10 years, right? I'm not saying that we ought to just say anything and it doesn't matter and growth doesn't matter. Yes, it does. But regardless, and matter of fact, if you, again, the DHT, we have a section in there that we teach on the principles or secrets of spiritual power. Remember that? 7 steps that Dr. Lake said were key to becoming strong and staying strong and being able to help others. Well, one of those is that you fellowship with like-minded people. Fastest way to die is get around people that don't believe. Now, I'm not talking about people just neutral, but people that believe different than you do. People that do not believe what you believe. That is one of the main reasons we started the life teams, was so that people that couldn't go back to their home churches could have somebody to fellowship with that believed, at least in most areas, the same way. And I'm telling you, that is vital.